Oh, yeah.
Well, that's definitely getting edited out. I'm trying to run family friendly. You can take this footage and you can make your own version of the video. What's up, everyone out there in YouTube land? I am Perry Lovewhistle.
And I'm Titan Reaver.
And we're going to be using some available household items and chemicals to make a heat-resistant silicone sheet for soldering. So this is just the King of Random's Proto putty recipe, so you can watch that video. I'll link it down below. But basically, we're going to take an entire tube of silicone caulk, mix it with an entire tub of cornstarch, and some food coloring, which will both give it vibrant colors and activate the silicone to make it able to shape whatever we want. Then I'm going to roll it out into one long flat sheet. I have to use PVC because my wife told me that if I used her rolling pins, she would kill me.
It's fair.
And I'm going to form it into a nice rectangle using this piece of acrylic that I have lying around, which will also make one side super smooth. So I've done this once before, and it made a ridiculous mess.
Oh.
It also produces fumes that are irritating, but I don't think toxic. So,
well, don't think is pretty. I'm confident.
So we should be safe, but as usual, don't do anything that you see on this channel. That's the standard Perry Lovewhistle disclaimer. So one way of making it a little bit less of a mess, I saw one video where somebody poured out half of the tub of cornstarch first, then laid down the silicone on top of that, and then started mixing. We are already making a mess, but that's all right because it's just cornstarch. We should be.
I'm on the stretch. This is.
Can you release the back of it? Yeah. That way, there's no pressure that I'm like poking against.
It's fine.
Fine to you. You'd just be watching.
Exactly.
I'm the one who'd be covered in caulk. That one's getting edited out. All right, now crank it. See what happens. There.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's definitely getting edited out. I'm trying to run family friendly. You can take this footage and you can make your own version of the video. Now this is a project, like I don't usually do projects that don't involve something like on fire or with heat.
It's true. This is probably the safest thing that I've seen in quite some time. I'm getting that whiff.
Yeah, it's getting started. It's
You know, it smells like when you like heat up vinegar.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're cooking or what do they call it? Reducing something that's alcoholic. That's what it smells like. Kind of takes me back. Old Paul. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was telling me not to smoke.
That is weird, because it's.
Oh, it's a good whiff. When you're real close into it, it's a lot more intense. Just like a foot away, you know.
Well, here, let's trade. You stir for a while.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, this does bind to anything silicone. It won't attach to anything else, but it will bind to anything silicone. So the anything that you use to stir it with, if it is silicone, will be lost in the process. But it is also really convenient to have a silicone rubber spatula for it. So, you know.
So did you clear the destruction of this spatula?
Oh yes. This one has already structurally failed. You can
Get a little more of that starch in here.
Yeah, that's the last little bit, and of course it can't just
just all over my hands. You know?
Okay, so that should be it for that.
Oh God. You're not sort of acclimated to the vapor. I kind of miss it. You know, it's dying down in intensity. This is the folding. It's like, you know, you're making a dough for pie or something.
Yeah, I imagine this would be really easy to do in like a stand mixer, but once again, that would be a really expensive batch of Proto putty.
I don't think the stand mixer would get along with silicon about that.
That's true. I mean, as long as you're using a nice metal stirring.
I'm tempted to just get in there and start wrestling it up.
Yeah, I mean, once you've gotten most of it all cornstarchy.
Yeah.
We started with our hands the last time I did this, but it's definitely not where you want to start.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a nasty mess. We even started with gloves on, and it destroyed the gloves, and then got all over our hands. Yeah, when you're just dealing with the caulk, it gets all over your hands. It gets really sticky.
Yeah. I can't imagine that. You know, just get into your fingernails and everything.
You don't have to use food coloring for this next part. Technically, you could just use about a tablespoon of water because the water is what actually causes this to happen. The thing is, if we didn't use food coloring, the end result would be that color, which would just not be...
it's not aesthetically pleasing.
Not aesthetically pleasing. So you use food coloring, and that way you get a nice bright color, and you can tell when you've evenly mixed it. So we're going to put it in there, and we're going to be on the clock, because after about 15 minutes, it's going to be really hard to change the shape of this.
Oh, man. Looks like I just murdered someone.
Thanks for coming over and helping with this, by the way. This was actually going to be my first solo video, but Titan Reaver decided to come over and help out, and at this point, he's pretty much just doing the project.
Well, you know, when you invited me, you said we get to mix a bunch of goopy stuff together, and I was like, couldn't turn that down.
I am putting down wax paper because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to stick to the table. But I am not willing to bet my marriage on it.
I mean, that's fair and reasonable. I'm only at that little spot. There you go. Now, what we probably could have done is you save a little bit of the cornstarch for the rolling pin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's got so many properties that are similar to, you know, bread dough anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well just use the same process.
Yeah. Lesson learned.
I say that as if I have any experience baking.
I bake myself a fair share of bread in my day.
It's not flattening out nearly like I was.
If we're being honest.
On the plus side, all of the ingredients for this are really cheap. We could do another one.
If this one doesn't turn out as we expect.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or if it turns out like I'm starting to expect.
Yeah, the more we do it, the more I'm thinking, no, it's just not going to work. Oh yeah, the good fold method. Get some folds into that.
Part of the video is going to be virtually unwatchable.
Just people breathing heavy. Trying to roll this out. I mean, to be fair, regardless of the shape this ends up in, it will be heat resistant.
Yeah, it's going to do its job, no matter what ends up like ultimately resulting from it. It's just a matter of like, is it really gonna be worth the money that I saved doing this? Of course, the soldering mats you can buy on Amazon don't have this cool reactor operator red swirl in them.
It's true. That's the only. You get only that from that custom. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, gotta keep it. Gotta keep the rolling pin moving fast.
Don't slow down. It gets very sticky.
Man, this part is
Labor intensive.
yeah.
I see that. And
Really getting my comeuppance for making you do the mixing.
you know, this actually reminds me of making hot water doughs. When you roll them out, they get very thick.
Really. I'm trying to join the conversation. This just sucks.
You need a break. You know, this is why modern rolling pins have swivelly handles on the end. And aren't PVC pipes.
Yeah, there's also the fact that PVC isn't food safe, technically.
Yeah, you know, but hey. It's starting to form up.
Alright, so we had some successes, but we definitely learned a couple of lessons that are very important if anyone decides to not listen to my disclaimers and try any of this at home. So first of all, rolling this out is not like rolling out pizza dough.
It's not. It's much thicker than pizza dough.
It's very viscous. You are just rolling out rubber. Also, while mixing by hand is the most efficient method, it gets the dye all over your hand.
Yep. So if you decide to do this, you're going to end up with your hands the color of the food coloring you chose. In this case, blood.
So either use gloves.
That's an option. Which we keep forgetting.
Or don't do this on a Wednesday.
Because then you're going to go back into work looking like Dexter or something.
I mean, that's going to be gone probably by Friday.
Probably.
The primary goal was achieved. We did this.
We did flatten out silicon into a mat.
So the next phase of this is trying to figure out how to get your hands back to a natural color while we wait for this to cure, which should happen over the course of just a few hours. All right, so it's actually been a couple of days since we made the rubber mat.
And my hands are basically a normal color again.
It's 2 days, so if we had done that on a Friday, then no one would have had red hands going to work. We successfully made a flexible silicone mat, but we need to test it. And also, it just so happens that I want to cut this into something less of a rustic, live edge.
Less of an anatomical appearance.
Since I chose the red dye, the result came out looking a little too fleshy for me.
This is true. It's like the inside of a piece of skin.
Yeah, that's not what I want. So I feel like if I square it off, it's not gonna look.
Or it looks like at least looks like a square piece of skin at that point.
Yeah,
like you meant to do.
I'll at least look professional.
Professional skin.
And then we're gonna test
Buffalo
it.
Bill would be proud.
So we can start by testing it with the actual soldering iron. I use my regulated, temperature-controlled soldering iron. I actually just press it directly on, try to melt some solder onto it, etc. Make sure that the silicone doesn't melt, and we can also check the heat through it because we got a infrared camera just for this.
Literally for this event. Just for this.
Depending on the success of those, we can move on to destructive testing just to see at what point it stops acting as a thermal shield. So I've got just a nice butane,
lighter,
basic lighter. We can move up from that to a propane torch. And then, just because I've got it lying around, we've got a little bit of thermite that...
no, not all of this.
Oh, no. There's...
But a little bit of thermite, because, you know, a lot of people have that lying around. And, you know, sometimes they also have silicone, and they want to know, will the thermite melt the silicone?
Yeah. So, probably. I mean, I might...
That's why it's called destructive testing.
Yeah. Then I might make a really, really clickbaity title for this video.
Thermite versus silicone. You won't believe what happens next.
Can silicone matting shield from thermite? No.
No. The answer is no.
The answer is-
We're going to say that ahead of time. Do not do any of these things that we are suggesting, or you will die. I've always thought it's not the size of your soldering mat. It's the heat resistance qualities of it. That's what my Paul told me.
You and your paw. Here, actually, why don't I use the grid on the mat?
You're actively looking at a grid in front of us.
I am a professional. Okay.
Now that is
See?
much more regularly looking.
Now, before we start getting really silly, because that's obviously what's about to happen, let's get some close-up shots of the layering in this. Try and get an idea of...
I'm not entirely sure it was intentional, but it
No.
looks good.
All right, so we've got a little bit of soldering mat here. I've got the thermal camera.
Oh yeah.
According to that, it's coming across 350 Celsius.
You can definitely see the color getting
Oh, yeah.
brighter. I'm actually getting hot.
Oh, yeah, there's a hot spot right there. Oh. Ooh. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is applying the soldering iron directly to the mat.
Nothing. Yeah. Okay, we got a
No, some smoke came up.
little smoking.
Okay, so it may be that the mat itself can't directly take the heat, so it's more of a safety measure. Okay, I'm applying the heat to the back of it. Oh yeah, you can see it.
See a little just through it.
Should keep anything from being destroyed.
Yeah, and honestly, remember this is a little bit of cornstarch in there that's probably not mixed 100%.
Oh yeah.
So that first smoking, you know.
It's cool to the touch now, by the way. Ooh, that's cool.
You can write in heat.
All right. Well, let's let me just put that right there since I know that's safe.
Now we are seeing what this mat is actually most likely going to be exposed to, which is just some wet solder falling on it. And definitely seems to be holding up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to do the lighter test. We got the thermal camera running.
Yep. No, so where are you holding that up here?
No, towards the bottom.
Huh. Well, there's not really anything coming through. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm straight towards you, so it seems to be.
Well, oh, okay. Now we're getting a little heat through her. Yeah.
Seems to be pretty heat resistant.
Now you can even start. We're starting to see it.
Okay. I mean, it was applied to it pretty
directly. Yeah, and there's the residual heat.
I should have tested that with the back of my hand if I was, trained.
There we go. Significantly more flame here.
Yeah, this is far more aggressive. Oh, yeah, that's clearly not.
We have found the destructive limit of this silicone mat.
Okay, so it will not protect you or any of your work surfaces
from direct torching.
Yeah, from a direct propane torch. Now
yeah,
you know.
I'm really surprised. I'm not.
I'm not. All right. Well, let's move on to the thermite. Okay, so this is with the thermal camera alone, because we all know what thermite looks like without a thermal camera. Destructive testing.
It's greater than 150 Celsius. Oh my good. Still greater than 150 C. Thank you, FLIR, for this opportunity. Well, now we know. Silicone mat versus thermite. Thermite.
So we did some mostly actually non-destructive testing. Not surprisingly, it was largely unfazed by direct application of liquid solder. The soldering iron didn't really hurt it at all. The lighter, the normal butane lighter,
Almost no effect.
almost no effect. It took a while to start getting any sort of even smoke to come off of it. The propane torch immediately ignited the rubber.
Yes.
So don't think a rubber soldering mat is going to protect you from
Direct torch
actual brazing. Yeah, direct torch application. And surprisingly, my guess is just because of how fast it was, the thermite didn't actually do a whole lot of damage to it. It created a big flash, and the heat that was felt through the other side was hot. It was hot to the touch, but didn't destroy the mat, and it wouldn't have burned you, and there's no visible damage on the opposite side. So I was actually surprised. I was expecting a puddle of goo.
Yeah, yeah, we saw how hot the surface of it get. I would say the time did have a large thing to do with that.
If I used a larger, like a reasonable, amount of thermite that you would use for anything, it would have melted right through it. But a quick flash of thermite, basically what I'm comfortable doing in my backyard.
Now, what this says is, you know, yes, it may be scarred and damaged, but if this is just your workspace area, a little protective mat, yeah, it's fine. And considering we just scoop some stuff up in a bowl and roll it out with a PVC pipe.
Yeah.